I love watching this Rams football team play. I mean, they're electric. Matt Stafford, like, he loves to even talk shit on the football field. He makes plays, he runs over people, he's hard-headed and tough. He's just one of the best quarterbacks I've ever got to witness. He's like one of very few that I've seen rip it like nothing else. But this Rams team is competing for one of the best teams in the league right now, behind maybe just the Seahawks, maybe. What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Crossing Line with Dev. Here we talk a lot about NFL, a lot about basketball as it gets into playoff season, and a lot about MLB baseball, maybe even some hockey this year. I know we got the Winter Olympics coming up and the NHL players get to play, so maybe we'll talk about that as the season comes. But let's talk about some NFL football. We just had week 10 pass us, which is some good news because we're getting into playoff football, but it's some awfully bad news knowing that half the season is already past us. It felt like it was just yesterday that the NFL season started. But let's get into these week 10 games because I I just want to say I was wrong. Very wrong about a lot of how this NFL season played out. I've watched plenty of football in my life, and I've been plenty wrong before, so I would always take what I say with a grain of salt because I'm going straight based off feel, baby. But there are plenty of times where I'm right. Let's talk about some of the games, and I'll talk about some of the teams I was very wrong about this year. Very, very wrong about this year. Broncos beat the Raiders. It was an awful Thursday night football game. That game ended before I finished the podcast, or roughly before I finished the podcast last week, so we kind of already talked about it. It was a very boring game. A lot of Broncos games are very boring. And I will say, if you look at the Broncos' record, they have not beaten a lot of good teams. They haven't. They haven't. The teams in the records of the teams they beat is awfully bad. So I would take their record and how good they are with a grain of salt. Now, could I be wrong? Is it very likely that they make the playoffs in some sort of fashion? Yes. But I do not trust them to be a NFL championship competitor this year. If you do, it's because you're a Broncos fan. If you don't, it's because you're not a Broncos fan and you see the reality. But the next game was a really, really good game. So overseas, early Sunday morning, we had the Atlanta Falcons take on the Indianapolis Colts. Indianapolis Colts have been one of, if not the best team in the NFL all year long. And I was very wrong about that team at the start of the year. I mean, you see how Danny Dimes' career shaped out with the New York Giants. Dable just got fired, by the way. And it wasn't very good. They had one winning season. They had one season where they went to the playoffs and lost to the Eagles in the playoffs. And outside of that, Danny Dimes' New York Giants career was not good. But you could say the same about Saquon Barkley. He was the best running back in the league last year. But Danny Dimes goes over with Shane Steichen, a coach I trust because I watched a lot of Shane Steichen offensive football when he was a Philadelphia Eagles coach, and I always had faith that he was a good coach. I was very sad when we lost him. You lose most coaches after your team goes to the Super Bowl. You'll lose the offensive and the defensive coordinator. We lost Shane Steichen. He went over to the Colts. He had to deal with, rookie QB who kind of got hurt and then kind of gave out on the team. Then he pulls Danny Dimes over to the Colts, and the Colts take off. They're hot. Danny Dimes is making decisions on the field we've never seen him make, in fashions that we've never seen him make them, and he's essentially perfected everything. It doesn't matter if you're playing man, zone, blitzing him, only rushing forward. Like, you could drop everybody back, and he's probably going to somehow, some way make a play. And he's incredibly athletic as a quarterback. Along with, they have a stout wide receiving core in Michael Pittman, Josh Downs. They just picked up sorry, I got to look at it real quick. but they just picked up. Well, they got Tyler Goodson, but they got Tyler Warren in the draft early in the draft. They have Alec Pierce, Mo Ali Cox. You could throw to you. We've seen a lot of Mo Ali Cox, weeks where he has 3 catches, 8 yards, 3 touchdowns. Like he's just a throw it up and let him grab it in the end zone machine. But they have a really good offensive line. I mean, really good offensive line. And they have Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor. In this game alone, Jonathan Taylor had 32 carries, 144 rushing yards, and 3 touchdowns. That's a 7.6 rushing average on 32 carries. That is like some 1970s, 80s football where they're just handing it off 100 times. He had 244 yards. And no, it wasn't just an only hand the ball off type of game. Daniel Jones also threw for 255 yards, a touchdown, and he had a pick. Daniel Jones also rushed for 53 yards. This team finds ways to win. Like, they are so balanced. You shut Jonathan Taylor down, it doesn't matter. They have Alec Pierce. You can throw to Jonathan Taylor. They have Tyler Warren, Michael Pittman Jr., Josh Downs. Like, this team is really good, and they were only missing a quarterback. They were really only missing a quarterback, and they found that in Daniel Jones. Now, did the Atlanta Falcons put up? I will say the Atlanta Falcons are a good team. Now, I think that they're on their way to being like an actual competitor. Do I think they're there this year? No. But you can see flashes of excellence in this team. Michael Penix looks good. Bijan only had 84 yards, but they threw the ball a lot. I mean, Drake London had 104 yards. Kyle Pitts had, I mean, honestly, they only threw to Drake London. The rest of the guys had 30 yards or, 40 yards or less. But still, I mean, the Atlanta Falcons are good, and they put up a good fight, and they took the Colts all the way to overtime. The Colts had to come back in the fourth quarter to take it to overtime. Granted, it was an overseas game, and those can get kind of like mixy. It can either get like it's really close and nobody can stop anybody, or it's nobody can score a touchdown. We're watching a game and like 3-6. But these guys are on 12-hour flights having to play like at the complete opposite time that they're used to in a place that they're not used to playing. But still, this was a very good game. I didn't mean to spend so much time on it. I just wanted to say I was very wrong about the Colts. But the Colts squeaked out a win overseas against the Atlanta Falcons. They go to 8-2. The Falcons are 3-6. They will not make the playoffs this year, but I don't think that they're as far off as their record seems. I think that they've lost a couple of very close games that they definitely could have won. This team could be closer to 500, if not just above 500, if you reverse the one score games that they lost. But let's get into the next couple games that happened. Jets Browns, not a good game. Jets did get another win. Browns just need to play Shadir at this point because it's like their season's ending anyway. Why not just see what the kid has? Saints, this was a week of like upsets. The Saints beat the Panthers by 10. It wasn't even a one-score game. Panthers, I mean, how much time does Bryce have? Do we think that Bryce Young is going to get a contract extension and they're going to continue to see what he has? Or do you think this is just pushing it into the future where they can maybe draft one or pick one up in free agency? Like, honestly, I hate to say it, Bryce Young's a good kid. He's dealt with the situations at hand in the best way possible. He was drafted to a completely awful team, has had numerous head coaches, has had very little talent around him, and was not given the best chance to be successful. And I think we've seen that with people like Sam Darnold, who get drafted to the Jets and have to deal with situations like that. Numerous head coaches end up going to a different team and having incredible success elsewhere with a team that's actually put together and actually wants to win and actually can figure it out. But the Saints get a win. Unfortunately for them, that doesn't do anything for them this season other than hurt their chance at maybe drafting number 1 overall. Patriots Buccaneers, a game I was excited to watch, and it was a game that the game ended and played out exactly how I wanted it to. I wanted to be close. I wanted to be slightly high scoring. I wanted to see who had the ball last, who would make the plays necessary to win the games, and the Patriots did that. The Patriots are way further along than I thought that they would be. I always had faith in Vrabel ever since watching Bussin' with the Boys, and they talked about how good of a head coach he was, how much success he had with the Titans. I mean, look what happened with the Titans after they fired him. They've been one of the worst teams in football for the past 5 years, ever since they fired Vrabel. Vrabel comes over to the Patriots, who had an awful season last year, and turns them around. They're 8-2 this year, guys, with Drake May, who has not had a lot of time under center as an NFL quarterback. Travion Henderson's a dog. They pick him up in the draft this year or this last year. 14 carries, 147 yards, 2 touchdowns. Matt Collins has become an outside weapon. I mean, every time I see a highlight of this guy, he's catching a deep ball, running past a safety or a cornerback. Stephon Diggs is still the guy we all thought he was when he was playing for the Bills and playing for the Vikings. They have Hunter Henry as their tight end. I mean, this team is put together. And not only that, but their defense is game reckoning. I mean, their run defense, you're not doing anything against the Patriots. It is nearly impossible to run against the Patriots. Seriously. They have the number 1 run defense in the league this year, and they've drafted to do so. Vrabel's a big offensive line, defensive line guy. Christian Gonzalez was one of the best picks in the draft in the past 4 or 5 years. This team is set up for success. I just didn't think it was going to happen so fast. Vrabel, if I'm an Eagles I'm an Eagles fan. If we lost any coach, Vrabel is one of the top 3 to 5 guys that I would want to coach my football team. Milton Williams is a dog. I mean, they did really good in this offseason, and Drake May has had such a progression in such a short time. This team could compete for a championship this year. Do I think they'll win the Super Bowl this year? No, but I think it's only because of how little they've been there before. Let's talk about the other side of the football, the Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield, the Buccaneers started off really hot in the early part of the year. They won a couple of close games with the ball in Baker's hand last to win the game. I think that they've dealt with some injuries. I mean, like, literally their only wide receiver right now that they can actually play is, Emeka, because you have, I got to look at this. I mean, sorry guys, I got to look at it. But Chris Godwin still hurt. He is still out. Antoine Winfield Jr. out. Vita Vea did play this year. Chris Godwin. But they're also missing Mike. They're also missing Mike Evans. I mean, their only wide receiver right now is Egbuka. It just sucks that Mike Evans isn't going to get another season with 1,000 yards because he's been one of the best wide receivers the game has ever seen. He's out with a broken collarbone and a concussion. But I think that this team is still like fighting. This team is still giving a fighting chance. I mean, they're still fighting every single game with the injuries that they're dealing with. It's literally just Baker Mayfield and Emeka. Cade Otton, I mean, I guess you could make the argument for it, but really, is he the star of the Buccaneers team? Their defense is banged up. So it's pretty much all on Baker Mayfield's shoulders, and he still held them in this game, 28-23. I mean, this game came down to the wire. Literally, he didn't even throw an interception. But Bucky Irvin's hurt, so they're using Rashad White to run balls and Sean Tucker. I just think that this team has dealt with too many injuries, and I think once they start getting their wide receivers back, I think you'll see a whole new life to this football team. But I don't think that this team is bad. They're still 6-3. They're literally a game and a half behind the New England Patriots. I It would not surprise me, and it's very likely that the Bucks actually make the playoffs this year. But the next game, Ravens have a bounce back game. Lamar's finally back healthy. They beat the JJ McCarthy Vikings. The Vikings were within one score. I think JJ McCarthy, once he starts growing even more, you'll get to see that he is a decent quarterback, but he's still making some very boneheaded plays because he has not had a lot of time under center. And when he was at Michigan, he wasn't a throwing quarterback. It was a primarily run the football team and threw it on necessary downs where they needed to throw it. Bills Dolphins, another upset game. Dolphins absolutely crushed the Bills. The Bills looked like they had no life in them this game. The Dolphins were suffocating. Every time that Josh Allen would drive the football down the field, he would throw a pick or they would score, and the Dolphins would bounce back and score again. Dolphins show some life after firing, I think, their GM, if I'm not mistaken. Um, they didn't let anybody go during the trade deadline, which is good for them. But, Tyreek is still out, so it's pretty much only Jalen Waddle. Uh, Devon Achan had a big week this week. For any fantasy lovers, you loved it, Devon Achan. But the Bills, I don't know what's happening. The Bills they've had games where they absolutely destroy the Panthers by 40, and then games where they lose to the Dolphins by 17. Then games where they squeak out a win by the Chiefs, who had just bounced back after having a terrible start to their season. And then games like this. So I'm kind of confused about the Bills. I thought at the beginning of the year that they were the best, one of the best, if not the best team in football. And now I'm starting to really doubt if they could actually compete for a championship this year. And it has nothing to do with Josh Allen at all. Josh Allen's the guy. We all know he's the guy. We love Josh Allen here. He's deserves every bit of money. He deserves all the positive pressure that we put on him because he is a top 3 quarterback in the league. New York Giants and the Chicago Bears. Bears, we got a win against the New York Giants. The Giants are very, very, very injured right now. Jackson Dart is out. Jameis Winston got announced the starter. Dable gets fired. Scattaboo hurt. Malik Neighbors hurt. They're both out for the entire season. But Caleb Williams is so fun to watch. He may not be the best quarterback in the league, but there are just some guys. You remember when Lamar first got drafted by the Ravens and he played those like last 8 games of that one season when he got drafted, and you just watched him and it's like this Ravens team isn't all that great, but you could just tell that there was something special there when you just watch all the talent that he had. He has more talent in his the top knuckle of his left pinky finger than most of us will ever have in our own lives. Same with Caleb Williams. They could not get him on the ground. They could have blitzed all 11 guys, and he would have found a way to evade tackles, evade sacks, and run the ball for 15 yards down the field. Caleb Williams is a weapon. Caleb Williams is a dog. Caleb Williams has so much athleticism, and his arm talent matches it. Now, if the Bears can formulate their offense, draft a little bit more guys, get a little bit healthier offensive line, and figure out a scheme that works around that, this Bears team could be pretty lethal. But I don't think they're there quite yet. But I do have faith in Ben Johnson, and I do think that their offensive line is coming around. Their rushing offense is kind of figuring it out. Now, did they barely beat the Giants? Yes, but the Giants did put up a decent fight. And this Bears team is, if I'm not mistaken, they're 6-3 right now, so they have a chance to make the playoffs this year. I mean, they're competing against the Vikings, the Packers for that NFC North spot. So, but this Giants team is falling apart. I think the only saving grace now is that you just let Jackson Dart get as much time as possible on the weeks that he's not getting concussed 4 times. But Caleb Williams and the Bears are really good, really, really good. And I kind of suspected that they would be good I don't know if I would say that I was wrong about them, but I always had faith in Caleb Williams ever since he got drafted. He did some magical things in college, and I got to witness it. And they're just some guys. Even if he would have sucked his entire NFL career, I still would have had like a slight faith that maybe he could figure it out because I watched some things I've never seen before happen in college football. Jaguars, Texans, Jaguars, it's tough for them, man. I mean, we just found out that, man, I'm blanking today, guys. I am so sorry. Jaguars injury report. I'm going to look at this real quick because I want to see how injured these Jacksonville Jaguars are. I mean, we did just find out that Travis Hunter is out all year with an LCL injury to his right knee. Sucks because it happened in practice. Brian Thomas is questionable right now, but yeah, I don't know. This Jaguars team doesn't feel much different from the prior years where it's like they had these little hot streaks. They won a couple games. Maybe they're not supposed to. I think we put a lot of pressure on them to be better than they are. And then they let us down in games like this where the Texans are not even playing with CJ Stroud. We had Davis Mills at quarterback. He threw for 300 yards all over the Jacksonville Jaguars defense. I mean, Travis Hunter's hurt, but he wasn't their entire defense. Trevor Lawrence only threw for 158 yards, had a pick and an interception. Or, sorry, he had a pick and a touchdown. I just don't know what to make of this Jaguars team, and I think I always had a little bit of doubt in my mind. Like, I don't know if it's or Trevor Lawrence. I don't know if it's the coaching staff. I don't know what it is, but this Jaguars team just can never seem to figure it out to have like one entire successful season. They kind of did under Doug Peterson that first year where they went to the playoffs and then lost to like what was it, the Chiefs when they were up 24-0 or whatever it was, or I can't remember if it was Chargers or Chiefs or what, but this Texans team without CJ Stroud, who is 4-5 by the way, they started off 0-3 with Davis Mills under the helm, just absolutely crushed the Jacksonville Jaguars in the fourth quarter. I mean, the Jaguars were up 29-10 going into the fourth quarter, and the Texans scored 26 points in the fourth quarter to win by 7. By 7. They let up 26 points in the fourth quarter. 26. This Jaguars team needs to figure it out, or there's a chance that maybe Trevor Lawrence isn't their guy going forward. Maybe they lose Duval. Let's hop over to the next game that we'll talk about, the Cardinals Seahawks. Seahawks absolutely destroyed the Cardinals, a team I was very wrong about at the start of the season. I did not think that the Seahawks would be the best team in the NFL in the NFC. After week 11, I thought that it would be maybe the complete opposite. And I'm wrong, and boy, I'm happy I was wrong because they are very fun to watch. So much fun to watch. You get DK out of there. Now, maybe I'm mistaken. We saw the magic that DK had with, when Russell Wilson was there, when Geno was there. We knew that Jackson Smith-Njigba was a dog coming out of college. But did we think that getting rid of DK would be the most successful thing that the Seahawks did? I would say no. But I was wrong about that. Because letting DK go to the Steelers and getting him out of the building made Jackson Smith-Njigba flourish as this incredibly successful number one wide receiver. And he's getting the ball thrown to him by Sam Darnold, who the Jets were wrong about, who the Vikings were wrong about not to extend and to go with J.J. McCarthy. And he goes over to the Seahawks and has the most success. I mean, the Seahawks are the most complete team in the NFL right now. Their defense is suffocating. Their offense is lethal. They're dogs everywhere. The only thing that I question about the Seahawks is why the hell is Zach Charbonnet their leading carry? I know that they had a split carry rate through this game, but if you watch a Seahawks football game, it really feels like Charbonnet is their guy. I think Kenneth Walker is the better running back out of the two, but maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe they see something I don't. This is why I'm not an NFL football coach. But outside of that, they just have dogs everywhere. They just got Rashid Shaheed. He didn't have a big game, but he will figure it out. AJ Barner is a big, big boy, and he can catch footballs everywhere. But Cooper Kupp doesn't even need to be the guy anymore. He had 2 receptions for 74 yards. It's all about Jackson Smith and Jigba. This guy is a weapon. This guy, I was wrong about this Seahawks football team, and boy, do these Cardinals suck. Jacoby Brissett had a tough game. I know they had a little bit of a bounce back in the second half, but there wasn't much that they could do. I mean, the Seahawks scored 21 points like that. I mean, that game started and it was 21-0 immediately. And then they didn't stop. They just didn't stop. They just kept putting points on the board. Jacoby Brissett had a tough game. I mean, he only completed 50% of his passes. He was 22 of 44. And I think Jacoby Brissett's a good quarterback. They just can't figure it out. I think what they need to do, what this Arizona Cardinals football team needs to do, is just find ways to make Marvin Harrison the entire game plan. Now, unfortunately, it feels like Trey McBride is their guy because Trey McBride is a dog and he had 9 receptions, 127 yards, and he butterflies every single one of his fingers with tape. It's crazy. It's like he can't even move them. It's like he can only make a diamond. But yeah, Marvin Harrison, I just don't think has turned out to be the top 10 pick that he was drafted to be. But I don't know if that's just game plan or if that's just him. But Seahawks get a big one, and I was wrong about the Seahawks. Lions, Commanders. The only reason I think I was wrong about the Commanders this year is because they've just dealt with so many injuries. So many injuries. I mean, this football team just cannot stay healthy. They're just going to have to kind of wrap it up and go into the next year. This Lions football team, I thought would take a little bit of a step back because they lost Ben Johnson. I mean, they lost both their offensive and defensive coordinator. And I think it was like a couple games at the beginning of the season where we're like, oh, shoot, did losing Ben Johnson make that much of an impact? And then all of a sudden they turned it up and this team has gotten hot again. And they've looked like the same football team they've looked like the past couple years. This Lions football team, maybe a top 5 team in the league right now. Definitely competing for that number 1 spot in the NFC. I mean, they literally just have number ones everywhere. Number ones everywhere. Jared Goff, incredible. Jahmyr Gibbs is number 1 on most football teams. David Montgomery is a number 1 on most football teams. Jamison Williams, maybe not a number 1, but he is I mean, they drafted him to be what he was so good in college. I mean, so good in college. But he could be a number 1 on a lot of football teams. Amon-Ra St. Brown, a number 1 on probably every football team. Sam Laporta, probably one of the best tight ends in the league. And their defense is so good. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson is just a game wrecker. Just a game wrecker. But yeah, Brian Branch, that's a guy I wanted the Eagles to draft so bad. Man, I wanted Brian Branch on my football team. But yeah, the Commanders, I mean, with Marcus Mariota, I mean, they're playing with a backup everywhere. Debo has had a tough time, but he's getting thrown to by number 2 quarterbacks. Their defense is a little bit banged up. Scary Terry's out. Jaden's injured, and I think he's going to be out all year. It just sucks for this Washington Commanders football team because they had so much success last year. Went to the NFC Championship game. Rams, 49ers. 49ers hurt. They've still kind of kept in it, though. I mean, the Niners are 6-4. They could definitely make the playoffs this year. Brock Purdy is still out. Mac Jones is playing, but it seems like what I just read is that Mac Jones is going to be able to play Week 11. George Kittle had a big game. They're hanging in there. They really are hanging in there, but they're just dealing with a ton of injuries right now. I mean, look at this. No Ayuk. Christian McCaffrey's been out. I mean, they're having to rely on just pretty much Juwan Jennings and George Kittle. Christian McCaffrey is still like, I don't know. I think when he got diagnosed with that that joint stuff, that tendon stuff, whatever it was that he got diagnosed with, he has not been the same guy that he was when we watched him in Carolina in the first couple years with the 49ers. The 49ers, but this Rams team, my lord, is Matthew Stafford probably one of the top 5 best quarterbacks I've ever got to witness a full career of. He is so good. Kyron Williams is a dog. Devontae Adams, all you need to do is have him in goal line situations, short yardage goal line situations where you can just throw the ball up to him. Puka is so good. Tyler Higbee is a dog. Puka, I don't know how they keep finding these third round wide receiver guys that just end up being some of the best pass catchers we've ever seen in the league. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, but Matthew Stafford, I don't know if it's because Matthew Stafford makes them look that good or if it's just because they were always going to turn out to be that good. But Sean McVay is going to always have a head coaching spot anywhere he wants to. Sean McVay is just so good. But this Rams team is, I think I was slightly off about them. I knew that they would be good. I knew that they would be good. Did I think that they'd be one of the best teams in the NFL good after week 10? No. But I thought that they would be close to what they are, just not as good as what they are. And I love watching this Rams football team play. I mean, they're electric. Matt Stafford, he loves to even talk shit on the football field, and you can watch it. He makes plays. He runs over people. He's hard-headed and tough. He's just one of the best quarterbacks I've ever got to witness, especially arm talent-wise. He's one of very few that I've seen rip it like nothing else. But this Rams team is competing for one of the best teams in the league right now. Behind maybe just the Seahawks. Maybe. They're up there with the Lions. Chargers, Steelers. I was wrong about the Steelers. They are the same football team they've been for the past 5 years. I thought they would be better. I thought, how can you have such a suffocating defense and all you do is make an addition of DK, Darius Slay, and Aaron Rodgers and end up the same? They didn't end up any better. They may have maybe even gotten worse. They've maybe even gotten worse. This Chargers team has kind of ended where I expected them to end, kind of right in that fringe playoff, can compete for a championship spot. I don't think they have everything that they need to actually win an NFL championship, but I think that they are going to compete against any football team you put them against. I just was completely wrong about the Steelers. They may not even make the playoffs this year. They may even get overtaken by the Ravens, who lost practically every game while Lamar was out for that number 1 spot in the AFC North. I mean, it's crazy. I don't understand why they're so bad. I don't know if it's scheme. I don't know if it's just aging players. I don't know what it is. I couldn't tell you, but it seems like they are the same football team. They're going to end right around 500, maybe or maybe not make the playoffs. And Tomlin's going to have no losing seasons, but it's only because the team is never going to compete for anything more than a fringe playoff spot or just missing the playoffs. I don't know why. I love Aaron Rodgers, and I think he's one of the best quarterbacks I've ever got to witness play football. But it seems like he's not the answer. I thought he was. He's not. I love Aaron Rodgers to death, and it's probably not even his fault. I just don't understand why this team is so bad. Or not as good as I expect them to be. Packers, Eagles. 2 teams I don't know if I'm wrong about. Eagles and Packers both have very good records. But Eagles and Packers have also lost games, barely won games they should have won by more, or barely lost games to football teams they shouldn't have lost to. So I can't tell if they're just barely squeaking by and they're kind of phonies, or if they're actually good and they're just waiting to turn it up later in the year. I don't know. But they've made a lot of just simple mistakes in simple games to lose them football teams. A.J. Brown is not happy being an Eagle. And I can see why. I mean, they're not throwing him the football. It feels like their throwing offensive scheme is not very dynamic. It feels very one-dimensional. This Packers team, Jordan Love is still making some not a lot of time under center mistakes. The defense isn't as good as we kind of expected them to be. I know that they're a little bit hurt. Matthew Golden was out this game. The Eagles lost a couple offensive linemen, but Jalen Hurts has kind of played shitty this year. I love Jalen Hurts to death. I love, and you guys know that because I'm an Eagles fan, but he has not had the success I've seen him have in the past. Saquon Barkley has not had the success that I've seen him have last year. And that could be a lot because of scheme. I mean, they lost literally every time they have an offensive coordinator, they either have to fire him or they lose him to a head coaching spot because they have success. And I can't tell if it's scheme or if it's just injuries. But A.J. Brown has not had the year we all expected him to have. Devontae Smith has been their number one guy. Saquon Barkley is on, I think he's on path to finally break over 1,000 yards, but there's a chance he might not even break over 1,000 yards this season. And Jalen Hurts is kind of not looking good throwing the football. He's missing a lot of easy throws. He's missing a lot of deep throws by a lot. And I just can't tell what the reason is. But this Packers football team is kind of also the same way. I know that they didn't have Dobbs, or I guess they did have Dobbs this game, but can't tell if it's offensive line scheme, can't tell if it's just coaching scheme. But this was just a defensive game. No teams could score the football. When they got close to the red zone, both their quarterbacks fumbled. It was not a very fun game to watch. I'm just happy the Eagles squeaked out a win, but it doesn't make me any happier or have any more faith in this Eagles football team going forward after watching a game like this. The only thing that gives me faith about this Eagles team is their defense. That secondary are just full of dogs. They drafted really well in the secondary. Their defensive line is so good. I mean, we did get Jalen Phillips. He looked really good this year. It seems like Jair Alexander's not even going to play football for us, so we gave up a couple picks for nothing. But Zach Bond is a dog. Jalen Phillips is a dog. Cooper DeJean is a dog. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Lane Johnson got hurt this game. It seems like Cam Jurgens is finally coming back to practice. Kenyon Mitchell is a dog. Jordan Davis he's been a dog ever since we drafted him. But yeah, the only thing I have faith in this Eagles football team is their defense. I have faith in all the talent on the offense, but they just cannot put it together. And I can't tell if it's just by losing linemen or if it's just because we lost our offensive coordinator last year after having so much success and winning the ring. Well, let's hop into week 11. Jets-Patriots Thursday night football game. Do we need to even talk about it? The Patriots are going to beat the Jets. The only thing that could make me think this game might be close is because it's interdivisional. But I don't have faith that the Jets will win. I have so much faith in this Patriots offense and their defense. Their defense is so good. The only thing the Jets can do is run the football, but the Patriots have the number one rushing defense. So I do not even know if the Jets are going to be able to score any points tonight. And if they do, it's because it's an interdivisional game and those can get mixy at times. Commanders, Dolphins. We just seen the Dolphins destroy the Bills. We just seen the Commanders lose by a ton last week. Is it somehow going to be flip-flop because these are two teams competing for maybe nothing at this point? But, wow, I sound so pessimistic. I'm so sorry, guys. I don't know why. I love the NFL and I love these storylines. I just love talking about it. It does sound like I'm angry at the league. I'm not. I don't know why I'm so monotone. I don't know if they're competing for anything at this point in the season, either of these teams. I think the only thing they're competing for is keeping their coach as the coach and not getting them fired for losing every game going forward. I think that the Dolphins, with all the injuries to the Commanders right now, I think the Dolphins will win this game, but I wouldn't bet my life on it because I could see how Marcus Mariota could have some crazy 100+ yard rushing game, throws for a couple hundred yards and a couple touchdowns, and the Dolphins somehow can't stop anything from touching the end zone. Packers Giants. I expect the Packers to win, but the Packers have made such silly mistakes throughout the season that I can see them losing this game somehow. The Packers are a good football team. They have a lot of talent everywhere, but they keep making silly mistakes to lose games to teams they shouldn't be losing to. And this is one of those teams they shouldn't be losing to. Jameis Winston is the starter, and they have an interim head coach. And interim head coaches actually have a lot of success with the first game that they coach. They usually win those games. Texans, Titans. Titans are just a debacle right now, unfortunately. The Titans are in shambles. They lose their head coach. They have a rookie starting quarterback. The Texans are playing with Davis Mills, who just absolutely walked all over the Jaguars in the fourth quarter of that football game. I expect the Texans to win. I don't think CJ Stroud is going to play this week against the Titans, but I think that they have enough of what it takes to beat one of the worst teams in football. The Panthers at Falcons. I think this will be a good game. I think that the Panthers and the Falcons are both bouncing back off of losses that they feel bad about. The Falcons barely lost to the Colts in overtime, and the Panthers lost to the Saints, a team who is like has one or two wins on the season. So I think this will be a good bounce back game for both teams, and I think it'll be a good game. Rico Dowdle might have a game, Bijan might have a game. I don't think it's going to be high scoring, but I think it could be close. I do. I really do think it could be a close game. Bears Vikings. Somehow the Bears always all their games are always close to each other. Like the scores are always close, even if it's teams they shouldn't be close with. But same with the Vikings. They always keep it close against teams that maybe they shouldn't have kept it close with. I think this will also be a close game. I can see it being like a 24-20 game. And I can honestly see either team winning. I think the Bears are the better football team. I think they're the more complete football team. I think that they both have incredibly good offensive, or I think they both have good head coaches, but I just have a little bit more faith in Caleb Williams just because of the time that he's actually got to spend being an NFL quarterback. I mean, he's played 2 seasons at this point. JJ McCarthy had to sit out all last year with injury, had to sit out half the season this season with injury. So I expect the Bears to win, but I would not be surprised if JJ McCarthy has like some crazy magical fourth quarter where he scores 40 points somehow to win. The Chargers Jaguars. The Chargers are going to win this game. Now, if it's by 25 points or by 3 points, it could go either way, honestly. And that's just because I don't know. I don't know what's going on with this Jaguars football team. I don't know why they're not as good as they should be. The Chargers are good. They're going to have an incredibly good record at the end of the season. It doesn't matter what their margin of victory is, whether it's by a little or by a lot. I expect the Chargers to win this game, but I would be hesitant to take whatever the spread is because I imagine it's over 3 points. If the spread is -3.5 in favor of the Chargers or more, I would be hesitant to take the Chargers on the spread. Now, if the spread is 3 points or less, I'm hammering the Chargers spread all day long because I've seen way too many Chargers games end by 3 points or less to have faith to take them in like a 5.5 point spread. And I know that the sports books are going to make it like 4.5, 5.5 points or whatever it's going to be. They're going to definitely make it more than 3 points. And I'd be hesitant to take that because Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars still have a little bit of talent. It seems like it, not Brian Robinson, but Brian Thomas Jr. seems like he's going to be back in the lineup and not out. But the Chargers somehow can keep it close in games and barely squeak out wins. Buccaneers, Bills. This is a game that scares me, like being a person who likes to place on either side of the football. The Bills, we know, are an incredibly successful team. They should beat the Buccaneers, but the Buccaneers have had a lot of success this year, and the Bills have made a lot of dumb, boneheaded losses that they shouldn't be losing to. I expect the Bills to win, but I can see a way in which the Buccaneers have the ball last, the game's tied, and Baker Mayfield wins the Buccaneers the football game. The Bills should win this football game, but I would be really scared to place a ton of bread on either side because I think this is going to be this is either going to be an extremely close game or it's going to be a blowout either way. I don't expect it's either going to, how do I word this? I know that made no sense, but this game is either going to come down to the line or either the Buccaneers or the Bills are going to win by more than one score. There's no fashion in which I can see this game ending like 28-20. I see this game coming down to either like a 23-20 game or it's going to be like the Bills win 40-17 or the Buccaneers win 30-8. Whatever it is, it's either going to be a blowout in favor of either team or it's going to come down to a field goal. That's what would be hesitant about placing either side. I expect the Bills to win. I think they're the better football team, but I've been very wrong before. This is the point in the season in which you start getting like hesitant as a placer because you've had a couple close ones, you've had a couple not even close ones, and you get scared. But scared money don't make money. Bengals Steelers, both terrible football teams. It seems like Joe Burrow might be back around Thanksgiving. Now, do you even put him out there if the Bengals have no shot in making the playoffs? Honestly, do you put him out there, get him, and risk him getting hurt again if the Bengals have no shot in making the playoffs? I don't know. I think they paid him a ton of money. They paid those wide receivers a ton of money, and those wide receivers are playing. They're not taking him out. I think that the Bengals are going to win this game. Joe Flacco has had a lot of success throwing the football. The Steelers have not had the greatest offense this year, and their defense has been prone to giving up a lot of points. As long as the Bengals can stop the Steelers from scoring 40, I think the Bengals might actually win this football game. 49ers Cardinals. 49ers Brock Purdy is back. Cardinals Jacoby Brissett. I think this is going to be a close game. It's an interdivisional game. Those games can get mixy. It's at the Cardinals Stadium. We just seen a game in which both these teams lost by like 20 points or more last week to get to teams that are better than them. I think this can be a close game, and I think that the 49ers are going to win, but I think it's going to be close. I would not take the Niners on a 5.5 or more spread. This spread better be like 5 or less because that's what it feels like to me. These teams feel kind of close to me. I just think that the Niners are a better football team and a better coached football team. But Jacoby Brissett has had a lot of success with this Cardinals offense. You should look at the stats. That's why they benched Kyler Murray, because Jacoby Brissett has had a lot of success. And Trey McBride has maybe been the best tight end statistically in football this season. Seahawks Rams, the game of the week. I don't know which way this is going to go. The only argument I can make for either team is that the Seahawks feels like they have a better defense than the Rams. But both these offenses are prolific. They have dogs everywhere. Their quarterbacks are dogs. Do I have a little bit more faith in Matthew Stafford over Sam Darnold? Yes. And do I have a little bit more faith in Sean McVay? Yes. But that Seahawks defense is suffocating. And that Seahawks offense can put up points and put up yardage against your defense. I hope that this game is close. I hope that both teams score more than 20 points. That's all I wish for in this instance. But if I don't even know if I could bet a side. I think that the only thing I would take in this game is the underdog, and that's just for profit at that point. I think if I seen it last, you know what? Let's look it up. I don't even care. Let's make this podcast go even longer than it has been because I'm having fun talking about this. Let's look at the odds right now for the NFL because I'm curious. Okay, let's So what the last I seen was that the Rams were favored in this game. Seahawks, I think, have the better record so far this year, or if they have not, it's the same exact record. The Seahawks, I think all the money is on the Seahawks. So if I was going to do anything in this game, I would place against the public. That's the only thing I would do in this game. And I think that would mean taking the Rams because I think 70% of the money or whatever is on the Hawks as dogs in this game. So I would place the Rams just for that. That's the only thing I would place. But I would do some sort of parlay. That's how I am as a placer. I'd probably do some parlay into the game, but I'm definitely going to watch it, and I just want it to be a good game. But I do think that the Seahawks are the more complete football team if I really look at them, but better coaching staff, better quarterback, and you have Cooper Kupp going back to the Rams Stadium for the first time. I think that the Rams are probably going to barely lose this game, but I would probably place a parlay on the Rams just for betting against the public in this instance. Chiefs Broncos, remember I told you, I think the Broncos are phonies this year. And I think that Chiefs are starting to heat it up. I have faith in Andy Reid. I have faith that Patrick Mahomes is probably the best quarterback we've ever seen play football. And I expect the Chiefs to win this game. I don't think the Broncos are a better football team. I think they've beat a lot of bad football teams. And I think they've kept it close in instances against good football teams. But I don't think that their record is indicative of their football team being one of the best in the league this year. I think the Chiefs are starting to heat up, and I think the Broncos have beat a lot of bad football teams. I think the Chiefs will win this game. The Ravens at the Browns. Do we even need to talk about it? Lamar's back. The Ravens are probably going to win that division, even though they lost literally every football game when Lamar was out. The Browns are a bad football team. Just play Shadir Sanders at this point. The Ravens will win this game. Lions, Eagles. I'm an Eagles fan. I'm a pessimistic Eagles fan. But I don't think they're going to beat the Lions this week. I don't. I really don't. The Lions, I feel like, are the better football team. They've had such incredible success on that on the offensive side. The Eagles have had a lot of struggles offensively. It seems like Lane Johnson's going to be out. Cam Jurgens may or may not be back this week. The Lions will win that football game. I said that about the Packers, but I have even more faith that the Lions will win this football game this week. Whatever the spread is, I want to see who's favored. Wow, they have the Lions as dogs in this football game. I imagine that most of the public is on the Lions. I would bet the Lions too. I don't see a way in which the Philadelphia Eagles solve all their mistakes that they've had all season long and figure out a way to beat the Lions, but somehow, some way, they keep these games mixy and squeak out wins. I just don't see how they do it this week. I think the Lions should be favored in this football game by 3 points or more, and I would still take that. I think the Lions will win this football game. Monday Night Football, that was Sunday Night Football game. Monday Night Football is the Cowboys at the Raiders. Both teams that suck ass this year. They both suck. But we do finally get to see, man, why am I blanking on the cow? Yeah, they got Quinton Williams and Logan Wilson. I think that if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time we get to see Quinton Williams on the field as a Dallas Cowboy wearing the star. The Raiders have been just one of the worst football teams we've seen all year. They had a coaching change. They got Geno Smith in. This Raiders team has been just completely awful. I remember saying at the beginning of the year, maybe they can make the playoffs. No, I was completely wrong. They suck. They're terrible. The Cowboys also are a not good football team. They made a practically even trade by giving away Michael Parsons just to get Quinton Williams. I don't understand that trade. I never will unless Quinton Williams just has the most success we've ever seen in a defensive lineman, even more so than when Micah was a defensive lineman for the Cowboys. But this Cowboys team is definitely better than the Raiders. I just don't think that they're a good football team. They're kind of competing for nothing at this point. They still have Dak Prescott. They have new coaching staff. What is their record at this point? They're 3-5-1. The Raiders are 2-7, so they're not far off each other. But I still think the Cowboys are a better football team. I expect the Cowboys to win this game. The spread at this point is 3.5. I'd probably hammer that. Ooh, that's close. But I'd probably hammer a 3 if I could find it somewhere in favor of the Cowboys. I think they're I think they're better than the Raiders, and I think they're better than the Raiders by at least 3 points. So that's wrapping up week 11 of football, guys. Crazy. We're already in week 11. We've had a lot of storylines that we didn't expect. We've had a lot of storylines that we expected. We've had a lot of teams prove themselves to be incredible, like the Patriots, and teams that prove themselves to just be in shambles, like the Cowboys, like the Steelers, and then teams who have just kind of been there the same as last year, like the Rams, the Eagles, the Lions, the Bills. The Chiefs are getting hot again. The Ravens are getting hot again. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think about some of these incredible slate football games, like the Rams, the Seahawks, the Eagles, the Lions, the Chiefs, the Broncos, even who you think is going to win that game, who you think is going to win the Bucks and the Bills. This definitely feels like a better lineup of games than last week. A lot of those games were kind of not very great. I mean, a lot of them were blowouts. A couple of them were upsets. But yeah, thank you guys so much again for just watching the episode and letting me talk football, because I'm going to talk about it and I think about it all day long. I love NFL football. I love baseball. I love college football. We'll get into the playoff talk when we get into that. I need some guests on so these episodes aren't. I would talk about like college football right now or even about NBA basketball, but it would make the episode so long, and I wouldn't want you guys to have a 2-hour episode of just me talking about football, 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 football. But I love sports, and I'm always gonna love sports, and I'm always gonna talk about it, whether it be here or whether it be with my dad or whatever. But yeah, thank you guys so much again for listening to another episode, and I will catch you guys again next week. Peace.